hear that echo.
I'll be down.
And I've got a note there that I got 5-minute break.
Scott's here.
If it's a real long time, and I'll ask if we don't need it, in
Thanks,
case
Scott.
somebody's got to go to the bathroom, like me. But if it's, when I get
Alicia
done
Albert.
with my
Hello,
meeting,
Jen.
I'll suggest that Jen take a 5-minute break.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Or a few minutes.
This is Mark.
Hey, Mark. Ryan London, do we have you on the line?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, perfect, thank you. Ron, I think we have everybody, so whenever you want to start.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yep.
Am I on? Okay. It's January the 10th, 2022, and this is a monthly meeting of the Dayton Utility Service Board. This meeting is being held by phone because of the COVID pandemic and in compliance with the governor's executive orders. This meeting is open for the public to listen in real time and by a recording afterward.
This
And an
conference
option
will now be
provided for
recorded.
residents to speak during the meeting on agenda items. Present on the phone, we have the clerk treasurer, Michelle Freeward, our town attorney, Alicia Albertson, town manager, Mark Harlow, town marshal, Scott Taylor, and 5 members of the town council. They'll identify themselves by roll call. Jen?
Here.
Carla?
Present.
Stan?
Here.
Ashley?
Yeah.
And I'm here, so all 5 members are present of the council. First on the agenda is the town attorney. Alicia, do you have anything for this meeting?
No, Ron, I do not.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Jen, is Ryan on the phone?
Yep.
Okay, while he's here, we need to go over, he's requested some things at the last meeting, and we need to go ahead and proceed with questions and stuff and a discussion somewhat of this area up there. Does anybody have any comments?
Did Mr. London have anything else to say before we start with the comments and questions?
We don't have anything to add beyond what was presented or said last month. I would add, though, that in going back and looking through our files, it looks like we've been asking for verification that utilities are available to this site and that will be served by Dayton for at least the last 17 months. So in that context, we would like a firm answer, yes or no, this evening.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so, I do have a comment, but before that, I don't have any public comment on this, but I was talking to a gentleman that lives in town, just a week or two ago, and he had a lot of good thoughts about this, and I suggested that maybe he hop on the meeting and say those, but for a lot of reasons he would like to remain anonymous. So I asked him if he would put those thoughts down in a letter for me, so I could make sure that I, shared them appropriately. So he did. So I just want to read this. To the town board and citizens of Dayton, while I initially supported Dayton providing water and sewer to areas outside of town limits but within its jurisdiction, further consideration has led me to believe that course of action should be approached with caution and condition. In December of 1976, the town of Dayton and the city of Lafayette entered into a joint agreement whereby Lafayette would provide wastewater treatment for the town of Dayton. This agreement was amended in February of 1995 to increase the daily wastewater flow accepted by Lafayette to 300,000 gallons per day. Also, in February of 1995, an agreement was made with Lafayette to provide Dayton with water. The water agreement provides for a 12-inch service line to provide up to 500,000 gallons per day. In both of these agreements, it is stated that the town of Dayton's jurisdiction area is defined and fixed in an area bounded by County Road 200 South, Haggerty Lane, as its northern boundary, to County Road 800 East, and then south along the south fork of the Wildcat Creek as its eastern boundary, to Wyandotte Road as its southern boundary, and then to I-65 as its western boundary. This area encompasses over 3 square miles. These agreements remain in force today. In the December 13th, 2021 town meeting, the attorneys for Carr Family Farm LLC, the entity currently requesting water and sewer service from Dayton, asked for a commitment from the town to provide those utilities. With this commitment, their property would be more marketable. It should be noted that a large section, around 95 acres, of the roughly 133-acre property in question falls outside of town limits. Their anticipated use would be for warehouses. Last year, against the town council's wishes, the area was rezoned to Industrial 3. The area could be used for warehouses or a variety of other heavy industrial uses. As it stands now, the town will have no say as to what the property will be used for. The Carr's attorney stated that it is their position that the town is legally required to provide service to an area that is outside of the town limits. This logic on their part is twisted. The town does not have the right to provide service if it chooses, as that right falls within its jurisdiction area. Jurisdiction, the official power to make legal decisions and judgments. To demand the town is obligated to the Carr's attorney's terms is nothing but arrogant. There are potential consequences of this request that must be explored. One consequence is that if this request is granted unrestrained, a precedent is set. Another entity will eventually locate within Dayton's jurisdiction area and demand equal treatment. While the Carr project anticipates a certain usage, they provide no guarantees, nor do they provide any guarantees as to what their property will be used for. Their unrestricted usage of Dayton's resources or the unfettered usage of other entities to come could exceed Dayton's infrastructure and possibly its agreement with the city of Lafayette. This could stifle future needs in projects that the town does desire. It could also force Dayton to invest in additional infrastructure at a cost to its citizens, i.e. higher utility rates. It is apparent that before providing services to any property outside of town limits, a minimum maximum consumption amount will need to be put in place, as well as an agreement as to what those resources will be used for. Another concern is the ability of the town to enforce its ordinances and terms of its agreement with the city of Lafayette. Can an entity outside of town limits be forced to abide by the town's rules? If that can be made to happen, something more than a promise needs to be in place. Underlying this whole question of providing utilities to the Carr property outside of town limits is access to the development. How will traffic flow to and from the site? After realizing that the plan for Yost Road Collector was nothing more than a convenient avenue for non-residents of Dayton to dump their I-65 and State Road 38 heavy truck traffic to and from the supply warehouses outside of Dayton, the current town board withdrew its support. The county has said that it intends to build its own road ending in a cul-de-sac outside of town and on the Carr property. The concern is that the county's actual intention is to build the road on property long owned by the town of Dayton, which is adjacent to the Carr property. This property harbors the town-owned lines, providing water to the town and is outside of town limits. The county would steal Dayton's property by eminent domain. If that were to happen, Dayton could be cut off from its water supply. The service utility request map provided by the Carrs does not show a road on their property. When pressed at the December meeting for the location of the road, Carr's response was that the road issue was unresolved. Before providing service to any property outside of town, this issue must be resolved. In closing, I feel it is of vital importance to address the aforementioned concerns before entering into an agreement with such long-lasting effects to our town. Long ago, the leaders of our town crafted a well-thought plan that allowed for growth while maintaining our small-town atmosphere. That plan fell into disarray when supposed economic opportunities presented themselves. The effect of those opportunities has been little felt by the citizens of Dayton. I urge you to carefully and cautiously examine the proposal brought to you by the Carrs and any others who want Dayton's resources to determine if Dayton is well served by its outcome. Sincerely, a concerned and informed resident of Dayton. So,
Okay. Thank you, Jen.
yeah. With all that being said, lots of unanswered questions, and it is not required that we sign this letter to help make this land shovel ready. And I really think that the town should just hold to the regular process of discussing utilities with the end user. I don't want Dayton pushed out of the development process even more than we've already been pushed out. So I think we just need to deal directly with the end user.
I think you're right. And besides, how can we make a property shovel ready when the road that's supposed to be going in and out of there isn't even shown on the map? I think we need to see that. Anybody else have any comments?
This is Ashley. I don't think the road has anything to do with this supplying utilities. I think Dayton needs to supply the utilities to our area of responsibility or however it's based in the contract. I don't think this developer and landowner is any different than any other landowner or developer that would come to Dayton in the future. In less than this terms, they're talking about 10,000 gallons per day. We've got ample supply within our contract to provide that. I think we should be talking with our utility advisor, Stephen Brock, and bring him into this conversation, see what he has to say with it.
How do we know it's 10,000 gallons a day?
I think Mr. Munden at the last meeting put that number out there.
And that number is from our engineers and is based on similar projects that this property would be used for.
Such as?
Clem, can you explain how you came up with that gallons per day?
Yeah, we basically looked at the Toyota 2 Show project. We looked at the CAT Logistics project, similar types of projects we would expect to be here. And those are actual flow rates that we apply to this similar area. So that should be plenty sufficient for the anticipated use. But I guess if something comes up that needs to be significantly more than that, it would have to be addressed. But I think we all know there's plenty of capacity at really anything remotely close to that.
All right. It's always been the town's policy all along to deal with the end user on the properties, and then we know exactly what we're getting. And I think you guys are putting us in a real nasty position to try to make decisions when we don't have decisions for the good of the people of the town and for the best interest of this town. And you guys are really jumping around like you already did and fought us on the rezone, fought us on the annexation, and now you want us to really make it shovel ready when we don't even know really. You've lied to us all along for 2 years now. Why would we believe you on the 10,000 acres or whatever? But anyway, we always, our process is just like Greg Malakis down there or whoever, we deal with the end user and we talk to them and they present what they're going to do and guarantee us what they're going to do, and then we come up with a decision. So I don't really think we have nearly enough information tonight to make a decision, but I would like to ask a couple questions if somebody else doesn't have any. What will the property be sold in the one piece or several pieces? Multiple users or one user? Ryan?
Guthrie, do you anticipate that being broken into multiple parcels or just one? I would assume just one.
Sorry, it took a moment to get unmuted. The answer is we don't know. The town of Dayton parcel could be separate from the other one, but likely the parcel outside the town of Dayton would be one. I would anticipate it being one parcel.
Okay, thank you. And then the other parcel, the 33 acres, I think that's inside the town limits, how will you get access to that?
We'll have to work on that, Ron. But that I think you're obligated to provide the sewer and water to that site right now.
I didn't say, I'm not talking about sewer and water. I'm saying how will you get to that landlocked piece of ground?
Yeah, that's a question we'll have to resolve over time.
That's another question that's critical in this whole scenario.
I don't believe that's relative to the parcel outside the town.
Well, Guthrie, we think it is. We think it absolutely, the position of the road, everything has to do with what this town is going to be shoved down our throat or not shoved down our throat. It's critical on what we work with the end use on it, so we don't get ourselves even further behind and you guys just stomp all over it. Here's another question. Well, I think one person answered. I don't even know how you can guess on the utilities when you don't really know what the end user is. That would be almost an impossibility to make a guess on that. Another question, where is your placement of Yost Drive going to be? What we call the future Yost Drive. Where are you guys going to put the placement of that?
That would probably be determined by the
You're
user.
mixing issues. We're asking for the town to commit to providing utilities, which we're of the opinion that it's not in the town's discretion. It has nothing to do with Yost Road.
Ryan, Yost Road and the questions we're asking have everything to do with the development of that land at the entrance of our town that can make, break, bankrupt us, do anything. So it all has to be, you guys are so, all we want to do is talk to the end user and see what's going in there. Let me say this. Before when other things come up, on the land use property there, just so the townspeople know this, there's some uses that can go in there that the town's afraid of or could be stuck with. Truck stops, ammunition plants, combined feeding operations, asphalt highway contractors, rubber plastic plants, chemical products plants, concrete plants, truck terminals, communication towers, trash transfer stations, refuge systems, recycling collection facilities, construction, demolition, disposal sites, scrap and waste material sites, junkyards, fertilizer material plants, fuel dealers, liquid gas dealers, and prisons and penitentiaries. So we're really, when you start talking trash transfer stations, junkyards, prisons, and correctional facilities, Dayton's really needs to be careful. And we've had a lot of community input that some people want to drive, some people don't. Some people want this in, some people don't want that. But we have to protect the town of Dayton. So you're asking us to make a decision when we don't have all the information. And by the way,
So, Ron,
wait, let me finish. Ryan, let me finish this. One more thing is in this land use, which surprised me, is in I-3 is public parks. So, you know, the state apparently lets you, or our zoning things let you put in a public park along the interstate. I'm really surprised mixed with all those other things. So that land could be used for real desirable purposes that would really do something great for the town of Dayton. So,
So,
yeah, go ahead.
so if one of those uses you just listed, with the exception of the public park, were the end use, is it the town's position then that they would withhold water and sewer from that property?
The town doesn't have a position right now. I think we're just saying we want to talk to the end user. That's what this all boils down to. We want to deal with the end user.
Yes.
Just like every other
Again,
time.
that right there is completely disingenuous. Ron going through that list right there, if that's not your position, then what's the point of that diatribe that Ron just went on? We've been
I think he
told
said he just wanted
that we wanted.
people to know.
Yeah, I want the townspeople to realize that if we make a mistake or make the wrong guess, we can listen. There was somebody who wants to put storage units up right along 38. I just called one of the old board members for their thing on there, and they don't really want them. I mean, but at least we knew what the end result was, and they would have to go through a rezoning process so we could watch it. But you guys are it sounds to me like, in a way, Ryan, you, the Carr family, for a pioneer, Hoosier pioneer family with roots that go back a couple hundred years, it sounds to me like, when you talk about my concern, it sounds to me like you guys don't give two hoots of anything about the town of Dayton or what will be in there. So we need to get more
I have another
information.
question.
Yeah.
I have another question while we have you. Would the Carr family ever consider selling the land to the town of Dayton so we could do with it what the town wants?
Guthrie, what are your thoughts on that, to the extent you're able to comment on that?
Yeah, well, I represent my family, but that's not a discussion we've ever had. But sure, I would sell it to you, but I'm going to sell it to you at what it is for the favorable industrial property rate, and I would tell you that that's probably about $80,000 an acre. So if you want to buy parkland for that, you can. You might want to buy the Berry land on the other side. It's a little cheaper, and kids won't have to cross any roads or anything to get there.
Guthrie, we have checked with the Berries, and they will present us to the town of Dayton, offer it to us at the full price. But their first comments were, because of what you guys basically are doing, their first intention was putting industrial through the whole thing. So that what means north of Caterpillar, north of our residential area, along our Dayton Road, everything would be high-end industrial, big stuff that the town of Dayton really doesn't want. So that's why, we got to look at this whole area and everything. But we have asked, and they were willing, and that's a good question, Jen. I think it would be a win-win situation for everybody, and the town doesn't have a lot of land available to develop because of the nature where it's at and everything. We don't have like Frankfurt that's got 5,000 acres between the interstate and their town. So we're running out of land, and I would think it'd behoove the Carr family, if we could somehow afford it, the Carr family, us, everybody, you could leave a legacy that's something the town could do and develop that into a real nice multiple use, mixed use, like for the last 10 councils have actually wanted and have always had this, the planned development plan. Remember, that was really thrown out the door because of what you guys did. So I think we ought to pursue that, and I think we ought to think more and get that questioned. If you guys could answer that question and come up with a price, we could get you an answer on that. That'd be a first start.
Well, Ron, I gave you an indication that you'd probably have to purchase it at the market price, and it's so. Secondly, the only property I think I'd be willing to sell you right now where you ought to build a park would be in the town of Dayton. So that would be the 30-some odd acres, and then you'd have to tell me how are you going to get to that property with your park without a road there.
Yeah, well, don't be too smart here while you're talking. You seem to think we just want a park. We want what our forefathers and for 35 years have had, a mixed-use plan development that was geared, not the I-3 stuff and everything. It was GBNB, residential housing and mixed-use restaurants, green spaces, trails, everything, storage units, dog parks. Just a big mix that was geared for the town of Dayton. And I realize what the $80,000 an acre is. We would have to think about that, and we would be then the developers that would go ahead and develop it and actually finance it by making money with it. We don't want just a one little. When I used to talk to your dad, he said he might donate some land for a park one day. Well, I don't know whatever happened to that. But
Ron, he said he denies it. You're modifying things here.
We want more than just a park. We would like something. We don't want a park surrounded by mega warehouses and 1,000 trucks that come out of that north side of that plant and from your other Japanese plant over there come across that interstate and right down into our town. So
okay, but to this letter, I don't think that we're prepared to sign this letter. And we've ended on send us your end user, I think. That's where we've landed.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Okay, does anybody else have anything to comment there before we
I just want to clarify, so the town's position is that they are not going to commit to you water and sewer to this property until we tell you what the end use is, and that end use may or may not be acceptable to the town, and the town will decide at that point whether they like that end use before they commit to offering water and sewer.
The town's position is very simple. We just want to deal with the end user. We don't want to deal with the landowner that's going to sell the land. We don't have to make the land shovel ready. We don't have to sign this letter. We are saying, just like every other time, we want to deal with the end user. It's as simple as that.
So just to summarize, our request for the will serve letter is being denied. Are you voting on it? How are you handling that from a kind of a procedural business standpoint?
Jen, you want to answer that? Or?
Well, your letter says that this letter shall serve as confirmation of the availability of sanitary sewer and water service from the town of Dayton, and that the town of Dayton will provide such utility service for the following parcels, which are depicted in the attached Exhibit A with a map. So, because we would like to deal with the end user, we will not be signing this letter. But we are not saying that we are denying you utilities.
We just need to get to the end user and deal with them.
Hey, this is Michelle. I have a question.
Yes.
Is it Guther that's on the line for the Carr family?
I am, that's correct, Michelle.
Okay, so you said that the only part of land that you would consider right now selling to the town of Dayton would be like the area for the park, and you said that would be about 35 acres, correct?
It's the tract that remains in the town of Dayton, which I think is about 35 acres. But if tomorrow we look at the map, it's 38, it's 38, or if it's 29, it's 29.
Okay, and are you saying that would be $80,000 an acre?
Off the top of my head, I think that's the market rate, and that's what I would ask for it.
So I just want to ask this as a concerned citizen and the fiscal officer of the town. So if you guys had 35 acres and the town council wanted to buy that land just so that they could simply control it, that would be at 35 acres at $80,000 an acre. That would be $2.8 million, which would completely bankrupt the town. So
I don't think it's.
I'm kind of mind blown that that's even.
Okay, can we move on here, Michelle? You made
Well, I mean, I am the fiscal officer, and you're wanting to control the land by bankrupting the town at $2.8 million.
We're trying.
I don't think you know how this works, Michelle.
Okay.
Well, what if it's $80,000 an acre? I'm pretty sure I'm not that stupid.
Michelle, please. we need to move on from here. So thank you, Ryan and Guthrie, for coming out, and we'll mull over everything. You guys mull over everything, and let's get on with our meeting. So thanks.
Well, Ron, that brings, so what is there to mull over? So our request was denied. What is there to mull over?
Ryan, I don't want you to pick words here and put words in my mouth. We need to talk, deal with the end user of the property, as the town has always done, to make a decision in the best interests of this town. Like you said 3 or 4 times.
What words did I put in your mouth? You said you need to mull it over, so I'm clarifying what needs mulled over.
Okay, thank you, Ryan. Ryan, thank you. Thanks for coming in. I think we need to leave it here, so.
Well, I mean, for somebody that champions transparency in government, we have anonymous letters being sent and read during a public meeting, and we're asking for clarification that the request that we have made has been denied. I don't understand why we can't get a yes or no.
Because we didn't deny your request, Brian. We're not saying that we're not going to give utilities to that property. What we are saying is we are not willing to sign this letter to make your property shovel ready for you. We are saying we'd like to deal with the end user.
Okay, but for purposes of what we've requested now, it's been denied.
No,
not at all. No, not at all. We will not sign your letter.
You're trying to trick us, Ryan, so please, that's it.
All right, let's move on.
Let's go move on. Okay, next on the agenda, thank you guys.
Ashley, could I ask you to make a motion to approve our will serve letter?
We've moved on,
Make a motion that
Ryan, we've moved on here.
will serve letters that Ryan had presented at the January meeting, or December meeting, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Ashley.
The adjustment report.
Okay, let's move on. We got the adjustment report.
Is there a second on that?
I don't hear a second, so we'll move on.
All right, thank you.
We got the adjustment report. We'll hold off until the audit. Next up on the list is utility report. Mark Harlow.
Yes. Give me just a second here. Okay, so all of you got my agenda. First item is the state required biannual water audit. We did this audit in 2020, required again to do it in 2022. The purpose of these audits is to gauge or measure state funding for drinking water infrastructure for municipalities. That's the reason they're requiring this now. They developed new software. They did it in 2020, had a few glitches, and they've updated the software and are approaching it a bit differently now. So we're required to attend this audit training, that or pay outside firm to do it for us. So I've chosen to attend the training and do it ourselves. That is January 18th in Indianapolis. There's no cost for the training, but it's an all-day thing, so I'll be out of town. I believe that's the 18th, Tuesday. So a week from tomorrow, I'll be in Indianapolis at this training. The next item is the completed State Road 38 water relocate project. We're working with NDOT, and Michelle has some additional information on that.
So at the December meeting, we have talked about the invoice for KA contracting for $74,000. We didn't vote on it because we were waiting to hear back from NDOT about whether they were going to pay it, or we were going to pay, or we were supposed to pay it and then them reimburse us. So I did get an email this afternoon that stated that they have the prior authorization to reimburse the town of Dayton for the water project. And he said once you make the payment to KA Contracting to let them know, and they would begin releasing the payment. So we need to go ahead and pay that $74,000 for the relocate to KA Contracting, and then I will send the email back to let them know that I sent out the payment, and then they will reimburse us that $74,000 plus the BSNS invoices that we paid for the engineering.
Okay,
Is there any questions about that?
so the the people that did the relocate, we have confirmation that we are going to get reimbursed, so we need to move to approve this right now.
Yeah, it was on the invoices to approve at the December meeting. We just didn't vote to pay it yet because we had not heard. So yes, we do need to go ahead and make the vote so that I can send out the check tomorrow, so that then I can let NDOT know and get reimbursed for that, along with the engineering costs for that relocate.
Okay. Has anyone else, was this through email? Was this a phone call?
The email that Mark and I are on with Christopher Boyd from NDOT.
Okay, can the rest of us be sent that?
I mean, sure, I reckon. It's just been Mark and I dealing with him.
And then the next meeting, is that what you're getting at, Jen?
Yeah.
You guys already have the invoice. It needs to be paid now so we can be reimbursed. This is from November. Because they're not going to reimburse us anything until we pay. And I've already sent all of the other documentation that we talked about last month. So I sent all of this over December 21st.
Well, we probably will have a meeting in the next couple of weeks, so on the roads.
You guys have had the invoice. I don't see what the problem is.
I just don't understand why this information's all of a sudden coming up now.
I just got the email because Mark and I have been waiting to hear back because the guy just got the approval to reimburse us for everything. So I had to send all of the BSNS invoices and that proof that we had paid them along with this invoice from the contract.
Okay,
So I
can you
just got
forward
the
the
email.
to us, Michelle? Can you forward the email to us? So that we
Yeah, I
have
just thought I
all the
would.
proper stuff, and I'm sure that by our next meeting we'll be okay it, and since the state just got it to you today, so it's immaterial.
They just got me confirmation that they got the prior authorization. It doesn't happen at the snap of a finger, but
Yeah,
sure.
and that's what you have to have to go ahead and pursue.
I'm glad mine and Mark wanted
Can
it.
I say one more thing before we move on from this, Ron?
Yeah, go ahead, Jen.
Okay. I just want to say that Michelle made a statement that her and Mark have been dealing with this. Her and Mark have done this. But I just want to point out that this project started long ago, and it started as Dayton's going to have to pay to relocate these lines. Dayton's going to have to pay. And it was going to cost us $22,000, I think they said. And, that was the end of it. We just had to pay because they were doing this project and they were on lines and we had to move.
I'm just talking about sending them the information to get reimbursed.
Let her talk, Michelle.
So Ron made a phone call to NDOT and said, hey, this isn't our project. Why are we, having to pay this? And made a couple phone calls. And suddenly NDOT was like, yeah, you're right. You don't have to pay for that. So it ended up saving us $22,000 or whatever. Turns out it wasn't $22,000. It was $74,000 now. Actually, that Ron saved us by making those phone calls and not just saying, yeah, we'll pay it. So when Michelle makes statements like, Michelle and Mark have been dealing with this, maybe the billing and the paperwork for the last, couple weeks, but I just don't want Michelle taking credit for any of this because she's had nothing to do with it. And maybe that wasn't her intention, but I just want to make that clear.
Okay.
Just so everybody knows.
You really need to get over yourself, Jen, because this was just about the payment. Like, you don't have to praise yourself at every single thing. We're talking about sending the paperwork to get reimbursed. We don't have to hear your whole story about how you save money. It's ridiculous.
Michelle, please be quiet. Ashley was starting to talk there. You interrupted him. So Ashley, go ahead.
I just wanted the public to know that Michelle's was muted during that entire time, and she's currently muted again.
We can't hear anything if it's not actually.
Actually, if you interrupt, you can't hear anything, for God's sakes. We're talking about something, she gets on there and starts rambling this and that, so we all need to not interrupt everybody. Okay, so Michelle will forward that email to us and we'll decide at the next meeting and get it resolved, okay? So, Mark.
I'm sure we will.
Next, yeah, thank you, Michelle. Yes, next on the list, Mark.
Now we move on to wastewater. The lift station maintenance was completed on December 13th. And although I have the invoice, I received it after the 5-day window for approval. So I'll be submitting that invoice for approval for the fall lift station maintenance at our next meeting. We'll move on to streets. So right now we're going to talk about last year's contract, the 2021 contract with Midwest Paving. The first item that we want to address is the sidewalk repair. And on December 20th, I sent all of you a copy of the invoice that we received from Midwest Paving for that sidewalk repair in the amount of $14,388.11. So what we need is a motion to approve or disapprove payment. So
that, Mark?
is $14,388.11.
And that was for the bill for repairing the sidewalk that they didn't do right in the first place, right?
Correct, yes. So I think what we want is we want something in the minutes. How would you say it? Of not approving payment for this. And as a reference, the reason why BF&S has recommended non-payment of this is because of, let me get the right number for you here. Article 14 of the construction contract, which simply states that any work that is completed not to the town's or engineering standards will not be approved for payment. So, I guess I'm just trying to help you on how you word this. I guess I would recommend a motion to not approve payment for invoice 2161 from Midwest Paving for sidewalk replacement as part of the 2021 CMG project due to Article 14 of the construction contract.
Okay, do we need more discussion? Or do I want to make a motion on that?
I was trying to write and I missed some of it.
Yeah.
So I would move to not approve payment for the sidewalk repair invoice from Midwest Paving, citing Article 14 of the agreement.
Yes.
I second it.
Okay, we have a motion by Jen to not approve this number 2161 bill from Midwest Paving, citing article number 14. We have it seconded by Stan. Do we have any discussion on this? Okay, if not, we'll take a roll call vote. Ashley, how do you vote?
Yes.
Carla? We'll skip that. Stan, how do you vote?
Yes.
Jen, how do you vote?
Yeah.
And Carla, how do you vote?
Sorry, I just want to clarify by voting yes, I am voting to not pay this bill, correct?
Yes, correct.
And yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you. And I vote yes also to not approve this bill. So this motion passes 5-0. Okay, Mark?
Next item on that same line is the closeout of the 2021 CCMG project. And we are still awaiting Midwest Paving's signature on the certificate of completion. And they will understand that no more payments will be made to them until they do sign that certificate of completion. So the ball's in their court. We still owe $58,748 to close out that contract, but until we get the certificate of completion from them, BF&S Engineering is recommending not to make final payment. So that's just more of an informational thing, rather not necessarily anything that needs a motion. I'm just bringing you up to speed where we're still at on that. I suspect the reason that they haven't signed that certificate of completion is because they're going to wait for our response to this bill for the sidewalk. So we've taken the next step, and they'll be notified that payment was denied, and we'll see where it goes from there. Next up, go ahead.
No, sorry, go ahead. I was just going to thank you.
Okay. Next item is the 2022 CCMG engineering fee. So you all received a copy of that also for review. So what we need is a motion to approve BF&S Engineering's engineering agreement for the 2022 community crossing projects. I do want to note that those numbers are really just a reflection of our general service agreement that we have with BF&S Engineering, regardless of what project they're working on. But they just put estimated man hours to paper to get that number for us. So I'm glad to answer any questions before a vote is taken on that.
You want to tell everybody how much it is, what we're approving, how much it is, the total? I think it's $32,000.
Hold on just a second. So it's a not to exceed number of $39,200.
Okay, thank you. Okay, anybody want to make a motion?
I move to approve this contract CFNS for our 2022 CCMG program assistance.
Second. Okay, we got a motion by Jen to approve the BF&S engineering agreement for the 2022 Community Crossroads Program bill for $39,200. And we got a second by Carla. Do we have any discussion on it? Okay, hearing none, we'll take a roll call vote. Jen?
Yeah.
Carla?
Yes.
Stan?
Yeah.
Ashley?
Yes.
And I vote yes, so it passes. Go ahead and pay them 5-0.
Okay, so what we're doing, we're not paying them anything. We're just approving the contract. But this contract does require all 5 of your signatures. So if sometime this week you can come into my office, I'll have it sitting on the table in here so you can each sign it. I'd appreciate it. The next item is the 2022 construction cost estimate. So you all received a copy of that, and it was for $775,000, of which 25%, or the town's share would be $193,750. Now, I think this requires some discussion. This number is quite a bit larger than I had anticipated, and I think there was many factors that contributed to that. But the best way I can explain it is that now that you have approved the engineering agreement with BF&S, that gives them the green light to go ahead and put together a more detailed cost estimate with quantities, dollar amounts, bid documents, like that. So I've reached out to BF&S and asked them to have those specific numbers, more detailed numbers, I guess I should say, to us by January 24th, because the application for the grant deadline is 5 p.m. on January 28th. So we could take a look at the more detailed cost estimate and project list on the 24th, see if there's anything that you want to fine tune on it, and that would give BF&S time to make any adjustments before the grant application is submitted. But I just kind of want to explain how the process works here, but now we can actually discuss individual streets and projects, so that I can relay that information to BF&S tomorrow. So, where would you like to start?
I have a question, Mark. Is this,
Yes.
do we always do it this way? Where they give us this giant ballpark number, and then we sign it,
No.
and then they go in and...
No.
Okay.
No, the reason it's happened this way this year is that the project engineer passed away last week. So it's kind of an unfortunate set of circumstances here. So they had another engineer on the staff come in and kind of on short notice review the work site projects with me. And he put together and I think it's fair to say that it's a ballpark figure. And that's why I say that we're going to fine tune this, but it's just that the circumstances have kind of guided where we're at this way, but no, it's not the usual way that things unfold.
Okay. Do you think that if we wait until the 24th, we would have enough time to... So on the 24th, would we say the changes we want to make and then have to have another meeting to actually approve the grant application? Or on the 24th, would we say, these are the changes and also we're approving the grant application after they make these changes?
Yeah, approval subject to the changes that the town council indicates. So no, we can make it all work.
If like 24 is cutting it close, if they could do it a little sooner, it'd be great. If you can find out. If not, then we'll have to do it on the 24th. Does anybody, to narrow this down, does anybody have any thoughts so that they're not looking, fine-tuning some street or sidewalk or something, and we're not going to do it anyway?
I do.
Okay. Good.
On the Wesleyan Drive, we had asked for prices for a sidewalk because Ashley was wanting that, and I think we should just scratch that completely. $65,400 was the ballpark figure, and it says that the sidewalk on Wesleyan has to add several other costs for drive, culvert, storm pipe, and grading so that it meets ADA and it's not in the swale. So I didn't love the idea of a sidewalk on Wesleyan Drive in the first place, and after seeing these numbers and reading that, I feel even less inclined to put a sidewalk on Wesleyan Drive, so I think that needs to just be scratched, and we should just not even have them, have the engineers spend the time and money to do that.
Okay, anybody else have any thoughts on that?
I totally agree with that.
I agree with that.
But it's one of the widest, if not the widest street in town. It's a dead end. There's 4 houses back there, and everybody else, the church uses the parking lot. I don't see any reason for a sidewalk.
All right, any other thoughts on that? Other?
Yes,
Go ahead, Ashton.
I disagree. You know, the church is obviously a church. There's people that do walk to that church. It's also used as a school, and there's, I'm sure, people that walk to that school. You know, any other street that we have in town, as we're going forward, seems to get sidewalks on it. You know, I think it's, you know, there may be 4 houses back here now, but, you know, there's a lot of vacant land on one side of West Main Drive. We know what the future of the whole.
Okay, thank you, Ashley. I'll make a comment here. That Ashley keeps bringing up about this vacant land. That vacant land has been owned for 48 years by Ron and Cindy. That vacant land was bought so nobody else would develop on it. If it's someday in the future, us or our kids develop that land, at that time, and only at that time, the town should make decisions, or they should make decisions to do something, because all of a sudden you'll have a lot of houses there. But we don't go put a sidewalk out in front of a farmer's field because one day there's going to be a subdivision there. You wait till something goes in and then you put it there. Another thing, this road is 22.5 foot, unusually wide, that even in Lafayette you have roads like that with a bike lane marked, painted on the side of the road, and there's plenty of room for walking if they don't want to walk on the town property or on the church property. But I would be in favor of, there's so much asphalt area back there to use, I would be in favor of pushing more of our dollars into the sidewalks in town that we never really, the older areas that are just junk and real dangerous and everything. So anyway, so it seems like it's sort of agreement, the majority, that we don't want to do a sidewalk there. So Mark, take that out for one thing.
You just put a sidewalk in the front of the church with a field being on the other side.
It's going down to Baker Farm, where our new town residents will live.
Yeah.
So that they're not walking on Dayton Road,
actually,
which is much different than walking on Wesleyan Drive.
Yeah. He knows that.
Ron, I did have one more thing.
Okay.
Which I guess this is more of a question for Ashley, because I know this was what he wanted on Wesleyan Drive also, was the cul-de-sac at the end of Wesleyan Drive. What are your thoughts on keeping that, Ashley?
I don't have a problem with a cul-de-sac in Wesleyan Drive. I'd have to see it penciled out and such. You know, cul-de-sac is not my first choice. You know, it's the second best option, but you know, it is what it is.
What's the first best option?
Well, according to the engineering study that we had done, the best option was to connect Wesleyan Drive to Shady Lane. Obviously,
Where does that connect?
at the end of Wesleyan Drive to the end of Shady Lane.
That's
Obviously,
connected right to the land that's been owned by Ron Kohler and Cindy Marsh.
He
Oh,
knows
it's a
that.
silly idea to connect those roads. That's not happening. But, so do you want the cul-de-sac at the end of Wesleyan, or you don't? Or you want to see it drawn out and then decide?
there needs to be a cul-de-sac at the end of Wesleyan Drive. You know, we've got garbage trucks that back down Wesleyan Drive every week, sometimes twice a week. You know, we got people turning around in driveways and stuff like that. It needs to be, Wesleyan Drive needs to be properly terminated, just like Shady Lane and just like South Street.
Okay. And it's going to take land from the people back there.
Ashley, are you saying you want that cul-de-sac on the end of Wesleyan Drive, or how you had your engineers drawn in 100% on Cindy Nice property to ruin our field? What are you talking, to get it straight, you still want a cul-de-sac on the dead end of Wesleyan Drive, so it take some of your land, some of mine, some of the church's land. Is that true?
don't know what you're trying to pin me into here, okay?
Well,
You know,
do you want a cul-de-sac on the end of Wesleyan Drive where you put cul-de-sacs on the end, I'll explain it here. You put cul-de-sacs on the direct end of roads. You go down, you turn around. You had your engineers spent a lot of town money for political reasons to put those cul-de-sacs, to put the wait, Ashley, I'm speaking 100% on our property, Ashley, and not on the side of Wesleyan Drive and not on the end. So I'm asking you, do you want it drawn in on the end of Wesleyan Drive, and that's where you want the cul-de-sac? We got to know to pencil it in and get an estimate. Is that where you want it? Or are you talking about putting it again on Cindy and I's property to ruin and destroy our property? What are you talking about?
Ron, I'm not having this conversation with you. This is ridiculous. You know,
It's
I
true.
personal engineers that work for me. They work for the town of Dayton. You know, you talk about this cost, you know, it was for, several different areas. It wasn't just for one area. They gave us options for all these areas. Some of them we've chose to utilize, other ones, maybe we won't. So, I'm not playing this game with you here in the public format, okay?
Okay, all right.
I think the Wesleyan Drive should be properly terminated like any street should be, okay? Hind Drive, South Street, Shady Lane, Wesleyan, Prairie Lane, they all need proper termination. Hines and Prairie Lane have kind of a halfway terminated, but it's still not done properly. Either the town adopts some standard codes for their roads, or we just live in the 1900s somewhere. So,
All right.
you do what you want to do.
For Mark to proceed with this, he's got to tell the engineers where to put that cul-de-sac. And if you want it, we're trying to work with you here. If you want the cul-de-sacs, you said so, then I would prove that the next question you have to answer, the town board has to answer, is where to put the cul-de-sac. And those engineers that were hired before in our special meeting, when the engineer was up there, and I talked to him several occasions, and he told me, I told him that there would be a lawsuit against them, what they were doing, and he agreed. He said it was not his best choice, it was not his idea, that it came from Ashley Stevenson to put those cul-de-sacs on our property and run those roads directly through the middle of our properties. It wasn't the best thing. He actually came down, Ashley, he actually came down to Shady Lane when we widened that 4 foot, the curves and everything, and I dug that out, and then they blacktopped it all, and we took a couple trees out and made it up to code, and he actually said that was great. That is what should have been done. And I asked him again out in the cold weather when he was standing out there, I asked him again, well, why didn't you suggest that? Why wasn't that one of your suggestions? And he told me, because Ashley didn't suggest it. So we can move on. You got to decide that. We know you want that cul-de-sac. Okay? So when can you get Mark an answer where you want that cul-de-sac?
Ashley, do you know why the engineers wouldn't put the cul-de-sac like any other cul-de-sac at the end of the road?
Yeah, the engineers did put the cul-de-sac at the end of the road.
No, Ashley, a cul-de-sac at the end of the road, you're driving down, and then it ends, there's like a circle at the end of it. But this is not like this. This is like a Wesleyan Drive looks like the number 9. Has a cul-de-sac off to the left, and then there's Wesleyan Drive.
What is Shady Lane going to look like? What does Hind Drive look like? What does the cul-de-sac at the end of Prairie Lane look like? It looks like a number 9.
Ashley, if we put the cul-de-sac exactly straight on Shady Lane, then the people that live in that corner house, their name escapes me, but the cul-de-sac would be like at their front door.
He knows that.
That's not the case.
And he knows
That's
that.
not the case
He wants
for
it.
Wesleyan.
Ashley 100% wants it on Ron and Cindy's property to use it as a political vendetta because he's so angered at us. And Ashley, I'd be more concerned about your house being 22 foot from the cemetery that is absolutely illegal in Tippecanoe County. So let's move on here.
They're talking about political stuff.
We're not going to put a cul-de-sac on just our property.
Yeah.
So let's just, if you want the cul-de-sac, let's just tell the engineers it needs to just be straight down Wesleyan Drive.
Yeah, straight down Wesleyan Drive.
That's what I say.
Well, sure you do, Sam.
Okay, that's the fair thing to do.
Yeah.
The fair's for everybody. Nobody's taking any more of somebody's property. It's what you do, Ashley. You don't use it and use your power to get things over and twist behind the scenes.
So, for the rest of these funds, I want to leave everything else on there, but like the Hine Drive, the preservation, the crack seal, fog seal, whatever that preservation is called, came in at $25,000. So I don't think we necessarily need to take it off. But if the bid comes back, the bids come back and it does stay that high, I confirmed with Mark that we do have the opportunity to remove things. Like obviously we won't get the money for it, but we can say like, never mind, we're not going to do that. The same thing with like Republican that came in. We can't do everything, obviously. So, I think we should leave Republican on there, have the engineers give us like a more exact number, and then see if it should be good. So.
I agree. I think these are some astronomical prices, and hopefully that they'll come in reasonable, that we can do more, all of them if possible. But we'll tweak those. And we'll get those finer numbers, and then we can decide at that next meeting. Okay?
Okay, cool.
Anybody else got any more comments on the streets?
I do. This is Ashley. I do not understand why we're doing these roads that are not rated very low on our FISA rating. It's scored as a 1 being the worst road, 10 being the best road. Conjunction and Republican are scored pretty high, along with Wesleyan. The only reason you want to do Wesleyan is it's political payback. I don't know why you're doing Republican, and I don't know why you're doing Junction Street, because they are rated high.
We were
what I just mentioned would be about $350,000 on this $750,000 bill.
We went through this during our meeting. We're not really going out of order because we have Dayton Road on there, and that was the highest. The only thing that we're doing is going further down the list to grab some streets if we have money to do them, because the sidewalks in town are not all great. So just like we did the street, sorry, I can't remember the name, but we did the street that didn't really need to be done, but the sidewalk approaches needed to be done. So we did the street so that we could get the money to get the sidewalk approaches done. So to pay for these sidewalks to be repaired would be a crazy amount of money. So it actually works out, it saves the town money by doing the street along with the sidewalk to get the matching grant money. And the sidewalks, the streets, although they're not rated the lowest, are also not great. So, while it's not like we have to have them done right this minute, it's not like we're taking a road that was just done and moving it up just to do something. And it's so we can do the sidewalks.
Some of these.
Junction Street was done 4 years ago, and Republican Street was done 3 years ago. Wesleyan Drive is, still rated 5 or so out of a scale of 1 to 10.
Yeah, you do the number 5s, and you start with 2 and go up to the 5s. And we could bypass Yost and Hine because we got the state to take care of them. They'll save us some money. So then we go into the 4s and 5s. We're going right down the the line, Ashley. We're not doing like was done before, where you pick number 18th Street, number 19th Street, and put it because your rental places are there, and you go ahead and do that street. Well, it's no place. We're going in order, Ashley. Right? There's no political thing on Wesleyan Drive or anything. It's the next street to do.
Yes, there is. You just filled it up for everybody.
We're going down the list. We're going down the list.
We're going right down the list, Ashley. So, you got any more suggestions? And we already had a meeting on these. We had a meeting actually to go on the streets, and you wanted to, Ashley, you actually added the sidewalk on Wesleyan Drive and didn't say anything about not doing Wesleyan Drive. You added the sidewalk to it and okayed it to get the bids on it, to get the BF&S to give a price on it. You were the one that okayed it last time.
I think every street in this town ought to have sidewalks, at least on one side of it. You know, you all did South Street, you shut me down on doing sidewalks on South Street. You know, I don't know, I don't understand that. There's more than 4 people that live on it, but, you know, you just pick and choose, you know, based on their politics.
No, we don't. Actually, we do not.
I don't think the people on South Street wanted sidewalks because it would have to be set so far back and it would be close to their house.
Well, let me ask Ashley this. He just said we did conjunction 4 years ago. Why didn't we do the sidewalks on it though, Ashley? That wasn't our board. I could name 10, 20 streets that we did the road and did not do the sidewalks. But yet when we got to certain streets, favorable streets to some people, we did not only do one sidewalk, we did 2 sidewalks.
Conjunction was done before.
Now you okayed this, the last meeting, you okayed
They
this.
didn't have sidewalk funding at that time when we did conjunction.
Yeah, we did them, Ashley. We did them. You just forgot to do them or didn't do them, you know, and you mixed up a lot of streets. So anyway, let's go. We're going down the list now.
We did not use any grant money for Conjunction Street. That was 100% town Dayton Bay.
Yeah, I know. Just like you didn't use it for the sidewalks on College, and that cost us a fortune when you should have done it with the street because it was a lower numbered street. You should have done it with the sidewalk and saved $200,000, but you didn't. You did your Harrison Street first because the houses were owned by you guys. So let's get on. We're going down the streets in order. In our last meeting, Ashley, you okayed Wesleyan Drive. That's all we're doing. So let's move on. Anybody else want to not do any more streets? Okay, I think Mark can go ahead, and I think Mark, up on Dayton Road North, there is a speed hump put in this, and there is, we're going to see if we can get it, one of those flashing speed limit signs. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, great. I think you said you put that in there, so that's fantastic.
Yes, I did. Yeah.
The people up north that always wanted the speed hump, they're getting one. We're going to put as many speed humps as what the citizens of this town want, where they think there's problems. We're a board that believes in that, I think. So anyway, okay. So Mark's got the streets and everything, and we'll get to fine tune the prices, and then in our meet, as soon as we get those, we'll have a meeting, and we'll go ahead and decide finally on this stuff. Okay.
All right. Well, yeah. Thank you. And we'll go ahead and move on to the next item, which is just letting you know that last week had a new edge put on that snow plow on the Chevy truck. So both snow plows are up to speed and should be good for another 5 to 10 years. A couple items I don't have on there, but I thought would be useful information for you is I touched base with Greg Malakis concerning this pond repair, the middle pond repair out at Baker Farms, and he got back to me today and said that they're scheduled to complete repair of that pond late this week or early next week, depending on the weather. I know that they have stopped hauling sand out of there and are now filling it up lining the pond with clay. So to me, that's a good sign. I'd like to see them get that finished up and cut back on this truck traffic that we have going in and out there. The last item I have is we received I'd mentioned at the last board meeting where someone had stole the manhole cover over on Cagle's Mill. We just got a bill today for that. I can present that bill along with the bill from FJF for the fall lift station maintenance. The only reason I bring it up right now is and I could be wrong, but is there some kind of provision that says that if it's under so many dollars, we can go ahead and pay it, or am I wrong about that?
No.
Pay an invoice just because it's under a certain amount?
You just get that invoice to Jen, and then we can okay it.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, what I'm going to do then is I'm going to submit these two invoices so they can be approved at the January 24th meeting we have that we need to have for this community crossing, if that would be all right.
That'd be great.
Okay.
Okay, so that's all I've got. I just want to remind you all, if you can this week, please come in and sign this BF&S engineering contract for me so I can get it sent back to them.
Okay. Mark, I want to add one thing when you're talking about Baker's Farm. I am glad they're finishing that up because they've had 8-9 of those trucks going back and forth for 2 weeks now. And so that everybody does know that the side road, semi-permanent, will be there for the next 100, 200 years. Asphalt road has been crushed in all along the sides and everything. And they have barrels of traffic can't use it. So they're down to the one entrance. And BF&S has been notified, and they'll be talking to Malacus. That side road wasn't actually put in properly, and now it's all crushed in, so they're not supposed to be using that, our engineer said, at all, and he'll be talking to Malacus about repairing that. So,
Yeah.
Okay.
I heard the same thing. You're correct, Ron.
Yeah, and thanks for the other night coming in and doing that, salting everything ahead of that ice we had on the road.
Yeah. No problem.
Okay, we'll open it up to public comment then.
We don't have anybody. And nothing's been submitted.
Okay, any council comments? Anybody, any council comments? Okay, I've got a couple if nobody does. At some time in the future, just be thinking about it, we do need to decide. Well, no, I won't even bring that up. I want to just say a couple of things here to clear up a couple of things. At the last, okay, never mind. Our meeting's running too long. I'll bring these up next meeting. So if nobody else has any comments, we'll adjourn this meeting and Jen will take over.
Okay, great. It's January 10th, and this is the regular monthly meeting of the Dayton Town Council. Ron already did the opening statements, and he took roll call at the beginning of his meeting, so we will continue. We still have the clerk treasurer, the town attorney, town manager, town marshal, and all 5 council members on the phone. Next is the attorney. Alicia, do you have anything for this meeting?
Yes, Jen. I am still working on a couple of projects that we had been talking about in December. December is always just a super hectic month because there are a bunch of clients who need things by the end of the year. So I'm still working on those things. I should have them done before our February meeting. So I just wanted to let you know that I'm not ignoring you guys. I just have been super busy. So.
Okay, is that it?
Yep, that's all.
Oh, okay, thanks. We'll move on to the allowance docket. I move to approve the allowance docket for December 2021.
I second it.
There's been a motion made by myself and seconded by Stan to approve the allowance docket for December 2021. Is there any discussion before we vote? Okay, how do you vote? Ashley? Okay, Ashley, is this you? Stan, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ron, how do you vote?
Yes.
Carla, how do you vote?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Ashley, are you on? I believe Ashley has left the meeting, or got kicked off, or we just.
I've been notified to let the public know that Ashley left the meeting due to all of the screaming and yelling and not able to talk due to Ron and Jen over speaking him and not letting him speak.
Weird that he wanted to let you yell without being muted, but he left.
Yeah,
Other
yeah,
people
no kidding.
All right, you guys don't want anybody to talk over anybody, but you talk over everyone.
Docket is approved 4-0. All right, we will move on to the claims. First, we have Alliance of Indiana Rural Water invoice 743. So I move to approve Alliance of Indiana Rural Water invoice 743 dated January 1st of 2022 for $184.32. Second. A motion made by myself and seconded by Carla to approve this invoice. Is there any discussion before we vote? Okay, how do you vote? Stan?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Carla?
Yes.
And I vote yes, so that's approved 4-0. Next, we have Bridget mileage. I move to approve the mileage for Bridget Cadwallader for December 2021, dated January 3rd, 2022, for 163.8 miles.
Second.
There's been a motion made by myself and seconded by Carla to approve this mileage claim. Is there any further discussion before we vote? How do you vote, Stan?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Carla?
Yes.
And I vote yes, so that's approved 4-0. Next is mine. It's for log meeting, which is go-to meeting that we use for these telephone meetings. Does somebody else want to make this motion since it's mine?
I make a motion to go ahead and approve the bill there for the login things for Jen for the meetings.
Second. For $19.
For $19.
Okay. There's a motion made by Ron, and I'm sorry, who seconded that?
I did.
Thanks, Carla. There's been a motion made by Ron and seconded by Carla to approve this log me in invoice to repay me for $19. Is there any discussion before we vote? Okay, how do you vote, Stan?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Carla?
Yes.
And I'll abstain from voting, so that passes 3-0. The next thing on the claims is for the Indiana League of Municipal Clerk Treasurers. I think this is the same thing as AIM, and we still don't have an invoice that shows what exactly this is for. So I'm going to contact
Oh,
them.
it's not.
If we can't
It's different. It's two different things. AIM and that are two different things. And that invoice that you have does detail. It tells you what it's for. This is like for the listserv and all of that kind of stuff. This is where you guys all, like if you look on the back of it, this is where you guys chose to add you guys on for $82 each extra.
All right, I don't have a back of this, I don't think. They have the same website, so maybe that's what threw me off.
Well, yeah, but yeah, all of the back of it is which I would fill out on there when I go to pay it for each one of you that are on the listserv. So it's $82 for each one of you, along with the cost. So my cost along with this is $107. And then it's $82 extra on top of that for each council member that is on the listserv.
Okay.
So the back of the invoice, all it is the information of filling it out, but I do it on the website.
Oh, okay. Let's see. Okay, we'll do this. We'll do this at our January 24th meeting. We'll get that with the form. Okay. So that is all the claims. We are moving on to reports. We do have the appropriation report, bank reconciliation, fund report, and revenue report. But I don't know if it's because of the new year or what, but I'm still waiting for the bank statement from the bank. So we will get those when I get that.
Are you talking about the bank statement from the home?
So that we can approve the report.
You never get the bank statement.
Not from you. You sent us everything. Thank you. All right, moving on to the minutes.
You don't have a right to get the bank statement from the bank because you're not on the account.
I move to approve the following minutes. November 10th, 2021.
So you're legally trying to gain access to my bank.
November 10th, 2021 Town Council. November 18th, 2021 special meeting. And these are all the final minutes that were in the Dropbox for all the council members. They're labeled final. Is there a second?
I second.
There's been a motion made by myself and seconded by Stan to approve those 3 minutes. Is there any further discussion before we vote? Okay, how do you vote, Stan?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Carla?
Yes.
I'm sorry, Carla, could you repeat that?
Yes.
Thank you. And I vote yes, so those are approved 4-0. So we're just waiting for December 13th, 2021 Utility Board, December 13th, 2021 Town Council, and January 3rd, 2022 special meeting. So that is all the minutes we have to approve. Next is the billboard contract. So this, we were looking into, and I put this on there because we need to decide 2 things. If we're going to increase the rates or leave them the same, and also Alicia had mentioned putting something in the contract that said, I don't know the exact words, but pretty much instead of saying that the contract is good for 5 years, pretty much saying this contract is good until either party changes the contract. Is that correct, Alicia?
Yes, essentially it would provide that either party could terminate within 30 days notice and that it would automatically renew annually or something like that. So that way we wouldn't have to consistently update it, or it wouldn't get out of date if we didn't have an opportunity or didn't update it for some reason.
Okay. So first thing we need to decide is if we're leaving the yearly amount the same. Right now it's at $7,000, and they pay annually. Does anybody have any thoughts on this?
My thought would be that's pretty high. We have 3 billboards on another property, and we get $2,500 each a billboard. So double-sided billboards that are a little bit smaller. So I think the $7,000, what I've heard lately, is not bad. I think we ought to okay it and then look at it, really research it over the next year and have a decent answer. But with the time where we are, it's pretty good.
Okay, this doesn't really need to be approved because it's kind of just kept going. So, does anybody else have any thoughts? Is everybody okay with leaving it the same?
I think leave it the same and do, like you said, do research. And I guess the location of the billboard would determine how much they get for rent. And if it's because it's on the interstate, I would think that would be higher. So we may be getting a low amount of money for it compared to other billboards along the interstate.
But we can take our time and really check it and get a good answer. So.
Okay. In the meantime, Alicia, could you add this to your eventual to-do list to get the right wording to add about termination?
Yes. Do you have a time? Do you want it at the next meeting, or do you just want me to kind of put it on the list until you tell me?
Right. I think we can put it on the list, and when you get to it, I mean, it's been sitting this way for this long, so I don't think that it's a pressing thing. I just think it's a good idea to do that.
Okay. Yep, no problem.
Cool. Thank you. All right, next we have codified ordinances. Okay, so Reed had brought up before that we need to codify the ordinances that we passed since 2019, and the ordinance book needs to be updated. So, Alicia, do you know the process for that?
Basically, to codify the ordinances, you essentially have a company take the ordinances that you've drafted and they put it in the codification, and they update the book.
Okay.
I know that some municipalities, and I'm not sure exactly how Dayton does it, because my understanding is you have all of your ordinances online. You don't get like an actual book of them, do you?
We do have.
No, we get them on a disc.
What is it? You get them on a disc?
Binder.
They send us 2 printed copies, and then they send it to us on a disc.
Okay. So, and then we upload that online. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So what typically happens, and what some municipalities have done, is they've just amended a bunch of things and then recodified it. Some municipalities have a contract where they'll update it regularly. So you just send them the new ordinances as you do them, and they will just codify them and update the online website, depending on who you use as your provider. That's also an option. But essentially what we'll need to do is we'll just need to get in touch with the provider and find out what their process is and then follow what they say. So they will be the ones, though, that will actually codify it and put it in the order that it needs to be in and that sort of thing.
Okay. Okay. I think it might be worth looking into the ones that update it as we send it to them. I don't know, like maybe it's not cost effective for the town. Maybe that's not a good idea, but I think that I should at least look into that pricing structure.
I would contact your vendor, whoever has published your book before, and I would see what options they have available, especially with everything kind of moving online. It's really handy for the public to be able to access updated versions of the ordinances, because otherwise, they don't, and some municipalities even have like a binder that they've gotten done where they've got it codified, and then they'll just add in the ordinances as they go, and they put that in the letter or whatever so people can see it. But unless you've got something like that where it's frequently updated, a lot of times they just get out of date, and then it gets really confusing for people to not know what's actual law anymore and what's what's outdated. So so that's where I would start, is probably reach out to your provider that you've used and see if they have that option. Chances are they probably do, and then just find out what it would cost to do that.
Okay. Just for the record, we do have a couple ordinance books that should be being kept up to date with the new ordinances, and I do put all the new ordinances or resolutions or whatever online on our website, but it is getting kind of long because every time there's just a new one, and then you kind of have to scroll through the list to find it. So if it can get updated into the book, that'd be cool. So, okay. I will contact American Legal Publishing and see what they have to say. I do want to say that we need to go back through those. At least I want to go back through the minutes, as far back as 2013, because I know for a fact that at least one ordinance was missed back from 2013. So that makes me wonder, did other ones somehow get missed? So I do think that that's important to make sure that it's an actual, like, accurate, list of ordinances or ordinance book.
Yeah, it needs to be done, Jen. That's good.
Yeah. Also, the next thing was preservation of town records. So we have all those old cassette tapes, and I want to get prices on getting them digitized so that they can be preserved. And speaking of the minutes again, I want to get all of those scanned and organized so that they're all in one place and easy to find, easy to look through. So I want to look into how to do that and get a cost for all of that.
I make a motion for Jen to get prices on digitizing and preserving no town records.
Okay. There's been a motion made by Stan and seconded by Carla to have me get prices to do all that, to preserve the town records. Is there any discussion before we vote? Okay, how do you vote, Stan?
Yes.
Don?
Yes.
Carla? And I vote yes, so that passes 4-0, so I will get on that. Okay, moving on, police department security system. Marshall Taylor, did you want to say anything about this? We're not voting on this tonight.
Yeah, I was waiting on the third estimate, and I got that in, but part was omitted, I think just due to miscommunication. So I asked them to go back and add that. So that's why I don't have those quotes ready for discussion. I'm waiting for the third quote to get completed.
Okay, so we're just waiting on that. Marshall Taylor, you're up next. You have the applicant update and a signed ordinance discussion.
We took applications for several months, got 3 applications in. Unfortunately, none of those applicants had the experience that we were looking for. Discussed those with the police liaisons, and we were pretty much all in agreement to keep looking for new applicants. So that's where we're at on the search for a full-time officer.
Thank you.
Any questions? Okay. I kind of wanted to address the council, the enforcement of temporary sign placement. During the last election cycle, I was involved in the enforcement of Indiana Code 921-14-6. This is the statute that gives the Area Plan Zoning Commission the authority to remove temporary signs improperly posted in the right-of-ways. I was advised by Area Plan and also my own interpretation that I also had the authority to remove improperly posted signs. However, when I talked to the prosecutor's office at that time, they advised against the issuance of any citations under that IC code because it had never been done before by a local police department, and their office had no experience with the law. I noted that Area Plan does have a mechanism in place for penalties to be assessed for these violations. I instead worked with the owners of the signs to make sure that they were properly placed. The majority of these signs were political in nature, but also included garage sale signs and various other advertising. It has been my experience in the past that law enforcement does not get involved in this type of enforcement, which can be political in nature, to avoid perceived bias. To that end, if the council believes it is necessary for the Dayton Police Department to engage in this type of enforcement, then I suggest we follow the lead of other jurisdictions and enact a town ordinance specifically addressing the issue of temporary sign placement. If the council does not believe an ordinance is needed, then my intention is to let area plan investigate these problems unless some type of safety issue arises from sign placement. So that is how I believe the police department should address those matters of signs placed in the right of way. Any discussion?
Nope, I agree. Area plan should
I
take care of the
agree.
signs. They should have always been taking care of the signs. They should have never been put on you. Sounds good to me.
I agree. Keep the politics out of it. Let area plan do it.
That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Next on the agenda, Clerk Treasurer Michelle Freeward, you have annual report, and then W-9 and 1099.
Yeah, I just asked Jen to put this on the agenda because it's that time of year again where we have to do the annual report and rollover, along with the 1099s and the W-2s and all of that. And you all are on listserv, so you see it every year, whether it was me or the previous clerk treasurers. There was always somebody to help because it's something that's only done once a year, and especially with all of the new funds and all of that different stuff. Susie Bass is one of the most popular people that help. So I was just asking for approval for her to be able to help again regarding the annual report, the W-2s, the 1099, the whole rollover for the year.
Okay, I have some thoughts on this. With this, I'm a new clerk treasurer. I've never done with this. I'm nervous, whatever. But there are also a lot of clerk treasurers that are like, hey, I'm done with my, end of year. I'm done with my whatever, my W-9s, my W-2s. So, and I did take it upon myself to talk to another clerk treasurer, and this is not something that is just a given that somebody else does for a clerk treasurer. Some clerk treasurers do get help. I don't know all their circumstances. Maybe it's their first year. Maybe they do so much other work in their office that they're already working 40 hours and doing this end of year stuff is just too much. And their town thinks, you do so much, you save us money, you're doing a great job, we have the budget, we're gonna spend this money to get you some help with this, whatever the case may be. The case for us is, you can do these things. You've done end of year, you've taken care of this for the last few years, and
with the help of other people, and they've not done it 100%.
I don't think that this town should spend more money to have somebody else do more parts of your jobs for you. The W-2s can be done on the Social Security website for businesses for free. You just enter the information, save them as a PDF, and then print them out. Everyone says it's super simple.
You do it. You do it yourself. You do
online.
it
You enter information for 1099, and if you can't do them in Keystone, I'd be shocked if you couldn't do everything in Keystone, though.
Everything is through Keystone.
And so
She helps me through. Can I finish talking, Jen?
No, I'm still.
No, she doesn't. She doesn't do it. Well, you interrupted
me. If you need any help, then you can contact customer service. They're excellent. I'm sure they'll help you walk through everything. That's what I was told. For the annual report, anything else, Keystone even has videos on how to do it. It walks you through everything you need to do. And if you're running into trouble, you give them a call. And we're past the Stone Age when you have to use a typewriter and make sure everything lines up correctly. You don't need to use pencil and paper and a calculator. It's all in Keystone, just like you said. So there's no reason that someone as computer savvy as you shouldn't be able to do it yourself. So I am not in favor of spending more taxpayer money for someone to do even more of your job for you.
So you'll spend $80,000 an acre to control land so Ron Kohler and City Marsh can control this town, but something that every clerk treasurer gets help with because it's done once a year. This is proof to the public right now about the vendetta, about what you guys do because you guys can't stand me and can't stand that you control me. Just like how you're trying to illegally access the town's bank account that only has my name on it, who Ron tried to do through Lena's time and through Alex's time to get the bank statement. So I'm really surprised that Alicia is going to sit here and tell you that you can walk into the bank and collect a bank statement on an almost $3 million account that does not have your name on it just because you hold the little title of council president. That is not your elected duty. That is not your position. I hold and secure the town money. You do not have a right to go in there and try and gain access to that account and get any form of bank statement. So this is exactly why this is a perfect example, because you guys can sit here and spend $5,000 on an attorney for 1 month to email and ask questions and rack up all of these attorney bills because you don't want this person or that person to come to town because you want to control every single thing. So that's fine. So if I happen to do something wrong, because I'm pretty sure, let's pull up the $50 an hour that Ron paid Charlene to do his bank recs and do his job, and Lena did payroll, Lena did the checks, and all of that. So it was okay when Ron was in office, and when you guys want to spend thousands and thousands of dollars and risk the town getting sued and canceling projects, but when it comes to Michelle, simply because you can't control her and you absolutely cannot stand it and it eats you alive, you're going to deny me the help, the little bit of help. It's not thousands of dollars worth of stuff when I don't ask for anything.
Well,
So that's fine. I don't need your poor excuses because you guys are absolutely pathetic, and tonight's meeting showed the whole town. It's a beautiful example of why you guys will not be sitting in this seat come 2024.
Okay, Michelle, you brought up so much.
I'm done. Move on, Mom.
Let me just comment on a couple. Nobody ever said that we were going to.
Nobody wants to hear your pity party excuses. So you're not in my position.
Control anything.
Who's going to
Ron, hold on. Spending $80,000 an acre is not just. First of all, that was just a comment that was made, and I'm sure you're.
Oh no, you do it.
know it's bankrupt the town, but
well,
that would be money that was just spent and then never seen again. Okay, we would be the developer then. I'm not saying this is happening, but just to clear that up before some rumor had spread that we're bankrupting the town to buy acres of land. Secondly, I did mention how there are clerk treasurers that do get help with this. And like I said, I don't know their situation, but maybe it is a situation like when Ron got help. I'm sure the council saw Ron not taking any pay and said, wow, this guy.
Oh, for the love of God, get over yourself.
20 hours a week. This guy is.
Nobody wants to hear. That's why he got fined by the State Board of Accounts because he wasn't doing his job right.
Do we have money?
That's why he had to pay out of pocket
to get him help for this end of year thing? Yeah, I think that's worth it. I think that's great. You, on the other hand, Michelle, have cost this town so much money, and you already don't do so many parts of your job that you have to do, and you just refuse to do them. Not interested in paying more people to do your job for you. That's the end of it. Go ahead, Ron.
Okay.
So pathetic, Jen. You are pathetic, council president.
Can she quit interrupting everybody? So
No, I won't.
I haven't said a word. Michelle, I haven't said a word while you were talking here. So.
Well, go ahead and say what your wife wants you to say.
All right, Michelle. I want to point out that when I was clerk, yes, I did get help on certain things, and I didn't get help on certain things. But I also, in 8 years, donated $242,000 of my pay for a whole stint of 8 years back to this town. Also, we had a town manager at that time that worked 15 to 20 hours a week. We paid him accordingly. Because of that, I went out and did a lot of turning on, reading meters, turning on things, looking at overflowing pits and all this, picking up dead animals, moving trees out of stuff. I worked at least 40, 50 hours for this town a week.
I'm sure.
But Michelle, please, for 12 years. So there's a little difference. So the town.
I'm pretty sure there's not. That's why Ina was doing your job.
Neither, Jen. So I can at least finish a sentence. So you might not like to hear it, Michelle. I still go out and do snow plowing and this and that and try to help this town whatever I can. My whole life is basically trying to help this town and not get paid much. But there's a difference here. The town board would rather have me back then not making, I mean, we did everything different. We had paper checks, we wrote out everything, things were done. Some things were simpler, some things were harder. But we also went out and built the gazebo, and the Old Town Board sat out there and threw sand and salt around on the streets and didn't take any money. We all chipped in and did a lot of things, you know, locking those down in the pit, sucking them out. So it was a whole different time. But what we do know is we all worked an extremely amount of time and didn't take the extra pays or anything. And like I say, I worked 40, 50, 55, 60 hours. I did get fined one time. I got fined $2,400, and I paid it immediately that afternoon out of my pocket. I didn't ask the town to pay it. I got fined for doing something wrong when I was receiving no payroll at all.
What's your opinion on giving her money for someone to do the job for her, Ron?
Do what?
What is your opinion on her request for money to have somebody do this job for her?
I think Michelle's very talented on the computer and what the hours that she is in there. I think that you're talking about a day's work, day and a quarter. I think with her being a utility clerk and then a town clerk and having this help, she ought to try doing it herself and using. I also talked to a couple ex-clerks, and they said, well, yeah, with the new systems and everything you go through, and Keystone will walk you right through it, and it's pretty basic and simple, you know? And, you know, so I think you ought to try it, Michelle. I think last year, what did it cost? $1,800, $2,800 extra.
That was the bank rec that had nothing to do with me.
Okay.
That was prior.
Okay. I give you that. I'm just saying it was pretty expensive, and I think the difference is you know,
I wasn't asked for that.
But I didn't say you were, Michelle. I just said.
Okay. But Susie did not do the whole.
Go ahead, Ron.
Okay.
Michelle, I'm trying to unmute you. Please just let him finish.
I'm trying to give Michelle the benefit of the doubt here, Michelle. Try doing it and walk your way through it and do it. And I think with the time you've got, I mean, I know what time you aren't in the office. You know, stay in the office a little bit and do the job and finish it. It's not like you're working 40 hours a week or 30 or 20. You know, I got faith in you that you can do it. You can figure out a lot of things. So I think you could do it and you'd be pleasantly surprised. So that's what I
Now, can I please speak without being remuted for the 15th time, Jen?
Yes, because Ron's done speaking. You may speak.
Thank you. So, one, Susie doesn't do the whole thing. We do it together and along with in Gateway, and then she double checks my work before I submit it, because once you submit it, that's it. Number two, I know it absolutely kills you guys that I do not have to sit in this office to work. You can speak for Bridget, or actually talk to Bridget. I was in here more hours than Bridget the last 2 weeks. Plus, believe it or not, I don't have to work from town hall. I have a laptop where I can remote into my computer. I work a lot at home. So just because you're at home on the cameras at town hall and writing down every single time that you see me walk in and out of town hall does not mean that that's the only time that I work. So please quit trying to make everybody believe that I work 2 hours a week. And I'm sure because you watch the cameras, you see that there are multiple times that I've been here late at night. It's not a 9 minutes. To talk the hours, then how come you all don't have offices sitting in here? Because I can guarantee you, none of you work 40 hours a week at your council positions. Because I know Carla works another job. I work another job. But the great thing about being an elected official is we aren't a 9 to 5. We don't have office hours. I do not have to sit in this office and do my work. I can sit at home in my PJs and do my job. I don't ever have to step foot in this office if I don't want to. You guys, you want to sit here and paint this picture? Okay. So again, I'm not going to argue with you. I'm sick and tired of hearing when I was clerk. Every single clerk before me, and even Ron, and even when State Board of Accounts came in here, when they did our audit in 2019, they sat there and said that we paid an obnoxious amount of money for Charlene to come in here. and do your bank recs for you. So to sit here and insult me and try and say that I do not do my job is absolutely repulsing. Yes, I can do it. I have no doubt that I can't do it. It has nothing to do with her doing it for me. It's for the fact to make sure that stuff that is that important to the town, that she helps double check and make sure that I'm putting stuff in correctly. That's all it is. So to continue to keep insulting me and saying that I don't do my job and I've cost this town lots of money, no. Let's sit here and lay down who's cost the town more money. This is exactly why Ashley's off the phone. It's a political thing. If nobody bows to you, I'm not done, Ron, I'm not done. So if nobody bows to you, you retaliate against them. You guys have had no problem allowing Susie or Janet or even Ron, while you were sitting at that table with the other clerk treasurers or council members before this crew, nobody had a single problem when Rita was in here and all of that. So again, it just has to do with, let's do whatever we can do to get Michelle to quit, but sorry, I'm not going to back down. You're still stuck with me for 2 years. So yeah, I'll get it done. End of story. Move on. Continue on. Take the money that you're going to save, the couple $100 that you're going to save from me, and use it in the lawsuit that will probably go against the town from somebody. I mean, it's ridiculous. This whole meeting is like a clear picture of how political, vindictive you guys are and one-sided. So, moving on.
Okay.
If not hundreds of dollars, we would be paying thousands of dollars. I don't know why it's less than it was in the past. Last year we paid almost $5,000 to get your bank recs done, and
they were not my bank recs. Quit lying to people. You are
your bank recs. We pay Janet to do the budget stuff. We have to pay Bridget to make the meeting packets you refuse to make. We have to pay Bridget to scan the documents that you refuse to scan and give to us. We're paying you over $32,000 a year to work a few hours a week because you refuse to do the things that are part of your job per the ordinances. You want to degrade the council because we don't work 40 hours. We make $5,000 a year. We do it because we want to serve the public. We're not doing it to rake in the money. And we work a lot of hours.
Ego.
I just don't think we should be spending more taxpayer money to have somebody else do your job. Does anybody else know?
No, you have to say that for the lawsuit from the Carr family.
Dan or Carla, do you have anything?
No, I have nothing. I agree. We do not pay anybody else to do her job.
Well, we pay the attorney to do your guys' job, right?
Do you have anything, Carla?
I thought.
I'm sorry, what was that?
I have nothing to add.
Okay. Thank you. Moving on, public comment. We have none and nothing was submitted. Council comments. Do you have anything, Stan?
No.
Do you have anything, Ron?
2 short comments. I'm trying to clarify things, some of these things. At our last meeting, Ashley had made a statement that we get, just to inform the public here, that we gave up the TIF district. He knows that's not true. In fact, the fact is that Dayton did not give up the TIF district. It was the county commissioners who withdrew from our joint agreement, not us. So just wanted to clarify that. We did not give it up. Also, the last meeting, Michelle claimed that she didn't have the restrictive covenant on Shady Lane. And yet there's a video of her being handed that restrictive covenant by Alicia at the meeting. When Jen handed them out, they handed them. If everybody goes back and looks at the film, it shows Alicia giving Michelle the restrictive covenant. So
no, it has me giving Alicia the document of the ordinances that I printed off.
Yeah,
that's what is being handed to Alicia.
Can I please finish?
Nice try.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Right.
You're welcome.
I do still work 40 hours a week for this town, too, for that $5,000. But anyway, at least. One thing I did, I'm starting to check some things, the Stoops truck place up there, just so everybody knows, they cover 30 of our acres of ground up there, and they use less than 1,000 gallons of water per month. Okay, they've never gone over the minimum bill. So I think we also got to take all these things into account, that what of these things that go in there, that not all the time do they just, we're just going to sell them tens and tens of thousands of gallons of water. Usually where place use less water than smaller GB businesses and stuff. GB businesses make you more money. So that's all I want. I think that's all I got. So.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Carla, do you have anything?
I do not.
Thanks. I just want to call the meeting for January 24th at 6 p.m. work. Does anybody have any problem with 6 p.m., I should say? Okay. So I'll call a meeting for January 24th at 6 p.m. so that we can do the streets and sidewalks for the CCMG fund, and then we'll also do the few invoices. And for the council members, we need to talk about the, at the next meeting, we'll need to talk about the email that Mark sent from Tim Stroshine about area plan, long range plan. Yeah.
Do you need me to be at that meeting? Since it's just covering career.
Yeah, I don't think so, because we're just making decisions on the streets and sidewalks and doing a few invoices and responding to an email and all that, so.
Alrighty, just wanted to double check.
Thank you. Okay. Having no other business before us, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.